Welcome everyone, it's Mindy Egan here, and in today's video I'm going to be working with the large die of the month from Spellbinders. This is called Festive Wreaths Slider Card, and this is a really fun mechanism to create to make your card interactive. This is taking a look at the actual die. Now you can see there are a lot of amazing elements to this. We have the slider mechanism off on the side there on the right, but there are tons of elements to create different wreaths for different seasons. There's flowers, balloons, there's some leaves here that I'll be working with, hearts, stars, Easter eggs, tons of different things you can do. This is the slider mechanism we're going to work with. I actually have the window already lined up and in place, and I'm holding that with some purple tape. And then this half circle is going to create kind of a panel on the front of our card. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a stenciled background for my front panel. I'm using the thick brush stencil from Gina Designs, and I have some jelly bean green cardstock and jelly bean green ink. And I'm just going to take a blending brush and apply that ink all over the front of my card. I do use the entire 6x6 piece here. My cardstock's a little bit bigger, but I do cover the entire panel of that stencil with my ink and just blending that through. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can have some lighter spots or darker spots. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll remove that tape. And then we can die cut out our front panels. Like I said, I already have that middle piece in place with some purple tape. I'm going to hold my die down, run that through my Spellbinders Platinum machine, and then that's going to die cut out our front panel. This is what the sliding mechanism is going to be. Now it does create some score lines here for you, which is kind of hard to see on camera, but they are there. So there's one at the top here where my finger was pointing, and then there's one in the middle and one at the very bottom. So we're going to go ahead and just get those folded up. So I'm going to start with that top one there. I'm going to fold up on that first score line, and then I'll crease that down with my bone folder. Then I'll kind of push in on that middle one, and I'll fold that down and crease that as well. And then that bottom one there, I'm going to flip up. And you can see it just creates a thin flap down at the bottom. And I'll crease that down as well. Next, I'm going to create the piece that actually gets attached for our sliding mechanism. So I'm taking this one. It has that little dot in the top there. That's where you can put some ribbon through if you wanted. So I'm just going to die cut that out of white cardstock. You can use any choice of color cardstock that you want. And then I'm going to bring my piece back in here. And this is going to go behind our front panel, and it's going to attach to our slider, which I will show you here. So the first thing I want to do is I'm laying this flat down. I'm going to just unfold those, kind of push those down, make it nice and flat. I'm going to take some double-sided adhesive and just run a strip there at the very bottom where that score line is. So just in that small skinny strip right under the score line. Then I can remove the backing of that double-sided tape. I'm going to take my white cardstock, make sure the front is facing down. And I'm going to line up the bottom of my white cardstock with the bottom of that green centerpiece, leaving a little bit on each side. So then I'll just push that down, and I'll show you the magic here that happens. And then once you pull this up, it's going to slide open to reveal either a scene or a sentiment, whatever you choose to have there on the inside. I'm going to continue putting this front part together of my card, so I'm taking some of that double-sided tape and I'm running it along the sides and the bottom. Now you want to make sure this doesn't touch your white cardstock or your slider is not going to move. So I'm removing the backing of that double-sided tape and I'm attaching it to a piece of fresh asparagus cardstock. And then once I pull this up, it's going to slide up to reveal the inside of our card. Now we're going to do a little decorating for the front of our card. I'm going to start off with my butterfly because I have something here that I need to dry. So I'm starting off, this is the Petals and Wings stamp set from Gina Designs. And just taking a piece of white cardstock, I'm going to line up this butterfly. I'm going to close the lid of my MISTI, pick that stamp up, and then I'm going to ink it with some Turquoise Sea ink. And I do stamp that twice just to get a really nice solid impression. Then I'm going to take the coordinating die, hold that down with some purple tape and run that through my die cut machine. Now I want to keep both of these pieces. So it did die cut out the butterfly, but I'm going to be doing some stenciling here. So I'm flipping that over, placing my butterfly back into that area and holding that down with Post-it tape. Post-it tape is really nice and low tack. I just needed to temporarily hold. And then I'm taking the Petals and Wings stencil. So this is what's easiest for me, is to die cut that butterfly out first, then come in and line up my stencil with my image. This is easiest because I don't have to worry about waiting for my Glitz Glitter Gel to dry, which is what I'm going to use. And if I run that through my die cut machine, it might smush it. So I think this is easiest. It's just holding that back in place, and then I can come in and do this stenciling. So the stencil lines it perfectly to create the antennas and that little bit of dimension in the butterfly wings. This is the Turquoise Glitz Glitter Gel. So we're going to add some sparkle to our butterfly. Once I've applied that, I can remove my stencil carefully. And then what I like to do is I'm holding the butterfly in an area that doesn't have the Glitz Glitter Gel, and then carefully peeling back that Post-it tape and letting that kind of fall out backwards. That's the safest way I have found to not smudge or smear my Glitz Glitter Gel. And then I'm going to put this off on the side to dry, and I'm going to work on the rest of the card. So this is a nested circle die from Spellbinders that I'm going to die cut out from white cardstock. And this is that half circle from the large die kit of the month that I'm die cutting twice from gold glitter cardstock. I'll take my tweezers and I'm going to apply just a little bit of liquid glue to the ends of this half circle. And then I can attach this and it'll complete an entire circle. This is going to be for the front of our card to decorate it. Then I can attach or apply some more liquid glue to this entire circle and add it to the white one that I had die cut. Now the white one is bigger than the one I die cut out in the gold glitter cardstock. You can either leave it like this, but I decided I wanted to trim that down. I didn't want to have the white border around that. So off screen, I did go ahead and die cut out a bunch of these leaves. These are really beautiful, delicate leaves that I'm going to put on the front of the circle here. So I die cut them out in a variety. I have fresh asparagus and jelly bean green cardstock. And then I'm going to attach them to the side, just one side of my circle. Just using a little bit of that liquid glue. And I'm kind of going back and forth, so I'm alternating colors. I have some that are kind of swaying inwards, some that are swaying outwards. And I do about 3 or 4 on that end, and then just bringing in my butterfly and lining up where I need my other leaves to go. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to alternate those colors, have some kind of swinging in, some veering out. And I really like having these off on the side like that. Now I'm going to add a sentiment. So I line this up in my Mini Misty, just lining up my butterfly, figuring out exactly where I want the sentiment to go. And I'm also going to use a sentiment from the Petals and Wings stamp set. So once I have that lined up, I can remove my butterfly. And then I'm going to use some obsidian ink from altenew. This is a very, very crisp black, beautiful black ink. So I only need to stamp that once, let that dry for a little bit because it is a pigment ink. It does take a little bit longer to dry. Now to attach this to the front of our panel, I'm taking that double-sided tape and adding it right under the score line in the middle of that slider mechanism. You don't want anything attached any further above that or your slider mechanism is not going to move. So don't go any higher than that middle score line with your glue. Now you could either trim the leaves off a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the leaves right above that bottom score line. So it's a lot easier to see here in person as I'm doing it. I'm placing my leaves above that. That way, when my slider pops up, I'm not going to have anything in the way. Nothing is going to get bended. So just making sure that's in between the two score lines is your best bet when you're placing something in here. And then I can pull my white card up and that pops up. And this is so cool, so great. I think these are gorgeous to put on display. Now we have a couple finishing touches, so we're in the home stretch of completing this card, and that is our butterfly. My Glitz Glitter Gel is pretty dry at this point. I'm going to take some Gina K Designs foam squares and I'm just adding them to the one side of the butterfly. Then I can remove the backing of those and I'm going to attach it to the middle of my leaves there where I had them kind of coming together. So I don't want any adhesive on the other side of the wing because otherwise my mechanism won't move. And I did go ahead and attach some ribbon there in the top so I can pull that easier. Now you can have a message, you can have an image in the inside of this. I just really liked that it was able to pop up and you can display this. I think that is just a fantastic idea and it turned out gorgeous. I'm really happy with this. I chose the butterfly, but there's flowers in this die set. There's so many things you could put on here. Now I do have one more card to share with you that I had created. Everything is the same as far as the steps, except for this time I'm using a Quilted Hearts backdrop from Simon Says Stamp. This is a really delicate pattern. I thought it was really pretty to put on the front of a card. So I'm using my Misty to stamp this down. I did remove the foam pad out of my Misty tool because this is a red rubber stamp. So it already has the padding there. I'm using cherry red ink from Gina K Designs. And I'll just stamp that down. So I love creating my own pattern paper because I can specialize it to whatever stamp set or whatever die set that I'm using. And then I can do the same thing. I'm going to bring in that window and I'm going to die cut this panel out. Now, if you want to make a matching panel with the notch cut out at the top, you'll want to remove that middle window piece. That would create a flat panel, which would be easiest because then when you're pulling your slider mechanism out, your fingers can grab that cardstock a little easier. I just didn't think of it at the time. Now for this card, I decided I wanted to use the ladybug that was on the Petals and Wings stamp set. So I did die cut out that ladybug first. I thought that would be easiest to match up my antennas. And I did use the cardstock to line that back up. So first I stamped the antennas in the obsidian ink. Then I'm lining the wings up and I'm going to stamp that in the cherry red ink. And we are going to add some glitz to this as well. So I'm doing the same process. I put that back into my sheet of cardstock that I die cut it from, held it in place with some post-it tape from the back, and then I'm taking the black Glitz Glitter Gel. And you don't need a lot out of here because the spots are so small, so I just quickly spread that through, scraped off the excess, and then we'll just want to make sure to carefully remove our stencil. And once again, holding that where there's no Glitz Glitter Gel in the front, remove that post-it tape and just let that fall out the back. And that is so super adorable. Now I did speed up this process here in the video because I did explain it in the first half with my first card, but I did just still want to show you that. So I'm going through the same steps that I had done, adding that double-sided tape at the bottom strip that I had scored to create our pop-up mechanism. And then adding that tape all around, just making sure you're not touching that white cardstock in the middle. Otherwise, your sliding mechanism is not going to work. And then I'm attaching it to some cherry red cardstock, so all of these reds match perfectly. My slider is working great. To create my circle, this time I'm using some black glitter cardstock from Tonic. And then I'm going to trim around those edges as well. And I still had a bunch of extra die cut leaves, so I'm going to add those around just like I had done. I just really liked this design where the leaves were kind of off on the side like that. And I did go ahead off screen and stamp that sentiment just to save a little bit of time. And like I said, any adhesive you want to make sure is in between that bottom score line and the middle score line. You don't want anything below or above that, or your sliding mechanism is not going to work. Now one boo-boo that I do have here but I didn't show was that I was trying to attach some ribbon to the top of my card, and you'll see the ribbon in the end screen. I do not recommend doing the ribbon like I did on this card. Otherwise your card is not going to lay flat. When I was trying to pull my ribbon through, I actually ripped the hole on the cardstock, and I had put so much work into this, I did not want to redo it. So what I ended up doing was just tying a knot and attaching my ribbon to the top of my inside white cardstock piece you'll see here in just a moment. What's going to happen is it's not going to lay flat, so I won't be able to mail it, but I can still give it to somebody. I just would have to hand deliver it. So you can see there my ribbon at the top. It's not going to lay flat, but it's so cute. I love how this came out and that little ladybug on there. So I still have to keep it. It's too cute. Now, like I said, with the large die of the month, there are tons of elements in here you can create for 4th of July or birthdays, anything of the holidays and seasons, which you may see more of this from me in the future. I will have all of the supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. If you enjoyed today's video and would like to see more from me, please hit the subscribe button and click the little bell notification so you're notified when new videos do come out. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.